Oh, lads, the things I end up Googling, holy shit. Right, compose yourself, Rano. Here we go. I was chatting away to myself last night, and the topic of conversation between my ears was what was it about that sentence in the blurb from the episode the other day that, brought me up and brought me crashing back down so fast. And just to remind you, the sentence is I've committed to making this 6 week lockdown a launch pad for the 2020s. Okay, so that's the sentence. And I read it, and as I've already said, it just made me go, fucking yeah, fucking go after it, man. Fair play to you. And then 2 seconds later, it just, fucking, my enthusiasm fell off a cliff and I hit the fucking ground with a bang. And it was just like, oh God, what am I on about? Talking shite about Launchpad for the fucking 2020s. Get a grip, lad. And it was all negative rumination. But last night I was thinking to myself, like, what was it about that? Like, try and fucking pick that apart a little. What was it about that made that happen? Because if we can't understand these things that kind of derail us slightly as they happen, like, you're just asking for it to happen again. So what came to mind was, and what I think now is, it was too vague, far too vague. I've committed to making the 6 week lockdown a launch pad for the 2020s. Like, what the fuck? That says nothing. Like, it's the type of shite you'd hear a politician say. We're going to make this country bigger and better than it's ever before, and it's going to be wonderful. With me as your new leader, we're going to do great things. And like, you're saying nothing. Be more fucking specific. Okay, and I actually Googled the opposite of vagueness, and it's being clear and concise. Clear, concise, or precise. Okay, so that made me think, like, what's so vague about it? Because, like, I'm training like fuck, don't get me wrong. Okay, like, when I said I'm going to use this as a launch pad, it's not that I just said it and it was meaningless. I mean, it was based on something. I mean, just to give you an example, I did a 9K run this morning. I've got strength and conditioning on later on this evening. I'm eating super clean. I've stopped drinking. I'm shadowboxing all the time. Like, I'm not doing nothing with this lockdown. I'm fucking flat out. I'm doing the podcast every day. Things are good, but there's no plan. It's not clear enough. It's not precise enough. It hasn't been nailed down. There's no goals. Okay, like, I'm eating really clean and training all the time, but to what end? Well, I want to lose weight. I want to lose body fat, to be more precise. But I've never said, I want to be X weight by a certain date. I'm not tracking it. Okay, now, the weight will come off, but I don't think I'll be as motivated to get to where I want to be if I haven't set in stone my goals. Okay, and look, this isn't some sort of these shouldn't be tools to beat yourself with. Okay, if you don't make a goal, you have to re-examine what was wrong. The idea being that you set a new goal, maybe with more time, or you change something in your diet or in your exercise regime, or you have to pay really close attention to these things, because if you don't, again, it's too vague and nothing will come from it. So I'm training like mad, but I don't know what my resting heart rate is. I don't know what my VO2 max is. I'm not monitoring my beats per minute as I run. Now, since even last night when I was thinking about this, I've already got past guest and friend of the show, Dave Webster, to hook me up with a heart rate monitor from a shop, Spun Cycles, the best cycling shop in Meath by a mile, going online very, very soon. Spun Cycles, you heard it here first. Anyway, enough about Dave and enough about Spun Cycles, the best cycling shop in Meath, based in Trim, possibly coming to Navan soon. Vagueness. To cut a long story short, that's, I think, the crux of what sent me down, full stop, about that sentence. It all seemed like hot air when you condense what I'm doing into that sentence. I've committed to making this 6 week lockdown a launch pad for the 2020s. That's just hot air. That's just fucking noise. Okay? It's not a proper plan. It's not, by X date, I want my resting heart rate to be this. I want to know what my 100-meter personal best is. I need to know what my 5K personal best is, my 10K, with the view of beating them, with the view of improving. Okay, incrementally now. I'm not going to say, by Christmas I'm going to have a six-pack. you have to be realistic about these things. But anyway, that's on the vagueness end of things. So that's something that I'm going to have to do now, is put pen to paper and stop fannying around, basically. Fannying around, pardon the pun. That'll become apparent now in a minute. Before I started recording this, I googled the word vagueness. And the definition of the word vague is of uncertain, indefinite, unclear character or meaning. Okay, so uncertain, indefinite, unclear. That's what vague means. But when I typed in vague into Google, when I hit the G, so VAG, vagina popped up as a suggested option. And I don't think, no, it didn't come up as a suggested option. It came up in my history, I think. It came up as a word that I'd Googled before. And I thought to myself, I didn't Google vagina, did I? And then I was like, no, this is familiar. And I was trying to think, why was I Googling the word vagina? I know how to spell it. I know what it is. What was it? And then it reminded me. I was like, oh, fuck yeah. Past guest and friend of the show, Des Seepersad, came off his snowboard a couple of years ago and went arse first into a big rock and bruised himself up pretty fucking badly, okay? And to cut a long story short, for whatever reason, felt the need to take a picture of it and send it to me. So I'm making the dinner at home one day, and the next minute, bzz, bzz, goes off in my pocket, and I was like, oh fuck, Des is texting me, I wonder what that is. And there's a big picture of his brown and black arse. I'm like, fuck's sake, Des, like, Jesus, man. And me being me, I said, I'm not having this. So I went into Google Images and wrote the word penis. The idea being that I thought I'd get a picture of a penis that somebody had taken, erect or otherwise. I wasn't really that bothered. And I was going to cut it out, take a screenshot of it, cut it out, and send it back to Des as if I had just taken it of myself. Just to get the point across, you send me a disgusting picture of your arse and I'll send you a disgusting picture of something else. But, and here's the fucking mad thing, when I put penis into Google Images, I got hundreds, if not thousands of images. Not one of them of a penis. Okay, diagrams to beat the band. Cartoons to beat the band. Okay, loads of fruit in the shape of penis. Loads of fruit. A load of pictures of measuring tapes and just measurements generally. Size seems to be fucking of major importance. And I'm like, this is fucking mad. And then I typed in vagina just to see what came up. Again, same shit, lads. Not a vagina to be seen. Diagrams, cartoons, the cover of a book called The Vagina Bible. I'd say that's a cunt to get through. What? More fruit. A load of stuff about burning, a load of pictures of fires, and that was the same with the penis thing. I don't know, but look, I never knew burning was such an issue down there. Thankfully for me, it hasn't been, but apparently for a lot of people, it seems to be. But where the fuck am I going with all of this? I'll tell you where I'm going. Google, in its infinite wisdom, has deemed these images inappropriate, or at least that's what I'm assuming has happened. But having said that, and I haven't tried this, but I presume if you Google image, porn, you'll get porn to beat the band. So what's wrong with just, a flaccid penis or an erect penis or anything in between? And the same goes for the vagina. Like, what's going on? And again, my understanding of it is that big tech, Google in this case, has essentially deemed these images inappropriate. Now, what's inappropriate about the male and female reproductive organs? I don't know. I mean, if you search the word elbow, you'll be inundated with, you'll never guess what, pictures of elbows. Okay, the same can be said for knees, ears, nose, eyeballs, cheekbones, you name it. You get a fucking picture of it on Google Images. That's what Google is renowned for. It's such a fantastic search engine. Which leads me on to an enormous big rabbit hole that I'm only going to briefly pull the curtains past and glance down from a distance. Have you heard of or watched Plandemic? Okay, Plandemic, for those who don't know, was a air quotes documentary that was made about the coronavirus essentially having been planned. Okay, the name is in the title, lads. Plandemic, like a planned epidemic. Okay, now it caused a fucking massive shitstorm online. Apparently it's full of misinformation. Apparently it's full of lies. Apparently it's just misinformation, essentially, about something that's quite fucking serious and has, affected hundreds of millions, if not billions of people all over the world. Okay? So, again, the tech companies, in their infinite wisdom, they pulled it down from all the websites. To such a degree that here I am talking about it, having not been able to watch it. Okay, now apparently it's completely bogus. Apparently whoever made it has been completely discredited, I think before they actually made it, and presumably after they made it. It's been completely discredited, not worth your attention, lads, full of lies. And I'm like, okay, right, fair enough. That's your opinion on it. I don't doubt you. I've no doubt in the world that the pandemic video is bullshit. No doubt about it. I've absolutely no reason to question any part of it, okay? I'm happy to assume that it's all lies. But I'm a fucking adult, okay? And if you've been listening to anything that I've said, a lot of what we think we know isn't the case, okay? So I'd like to make up my own mind, thank you very much. But I can't, because again, these tech companies, in their infinite wisdom, they've decided for me. But I mean, at what point do these people become your parents? Like, who's to fucking say I shouldn't be allowed watch Plandemic? Okay, here's another one for you. I've long been an advocate for the consumption of cannabis. Okay? Here's one for you. Cannabis is illegal. Okay? According to the Drug Administration in the Food and Drug Administration in the States, the FDA, cannabis is ranked with heroin and crack cocaine and up there with literally the worst drugs imaginable. And it's down officially, and has been for decades, as having a high risk of abuse and no medical qualities. Both statements patently false. Okay? So what happens when one day you pick up your phone and you go, I've 15 minutes to kill or 4.5 hours to kill. I'll stick on Off the Lead and see what Fran was shouting on about today. And you're like, oh fuck, it's not where it usually is. That's weird. Maybe it's gone off this app that I'm using. I'll try a different app. Jeez, it's not there either. I must check out his Facebook page or his Instagram. Oh fuck, no sign of it. Realistically, what are you going to do? Are you going to find my contact details? Are you going to send me an email to say, hey man, looking for the podcast, can't find it? Or are you just going to assume that I don't do it anymore and I pull it all down? Okay, the vast majority of people are just going to assume that it's not there. Or when it disappears from their phone, they're not even going to fucking notice and they're never just going to think about it again. But what if I've been pulled down offline because I've been promoting an illegal substance? A dangerous substance? What if the powers that be deem what I'm saying to you to be misinformation? If you Google how old is civilization, you'll get 1,000 answers that say 6,000 years old. Okay? There'll be no mention of Göbekli Tepe. Now, Göbekli Tepe hasn't been eradicated from the internet like Plandemic has. If you specifically Google Göbekli Tepe, you can find out all about it and how old it is. And it's, 11,700 years old, at least. All that information is there. For now, at least. But the point being, when do tech companies and politicians, when is it okay for them to make decisions on our behalf? Now, look, I get that they can't consult me for everything, okay? I'm happy enough that they come to the consensus that the maximum speed in our roads is 120 kilometers an hour and all that, running the country stuff. I'm cool with that. I've no issue with that whatsoever. But when you can't fucking look up what a penis looks like here's one for you. What if you're concerned about your penis or your vagina? Maybe you want to see what a healthy penis or a healthy vagina looks like. Now, I know that's a fairly base example, but I mean, the point stands. At what point do these people stop censoring things on us? I mean, if I was trying to find an image of a baby's penis or a child's vagina, and the reason I couldn't find it was because there was just an all-out blanket ban on anything that could be remotely considered child pornography. And as collateral damage, just medical pictures got caught in the mix, I'd have no issue with that, okay? That's just, collateral damage in this case is just something that, you're just going to have to get on with and live with and get over. I've no issue with that. Okay? But the question remains, at what point do these people have the right to save us from ourselves? I mean, I'm a fucking full-blown adult. I can make my own decisions. Thank you very much, Mr. Google. Okay? But at what point do these people kind of realize we've no right to say this? We've no right to tell people what they can and cannot read. But look, we're living in an age that is literally the case. And on that somewhat apocalyptic note, I'll chat to you tomorrow. But before I let you go, I'd just like to remind everybody that this episode and all the episodes on YouTube have been brought to you by past guest and friend of the show, Pat McKeown. Pat is very similar to myself insofar as that he's long had an interest in the mind and more specifically the brain and how they both interact, to such an extent that he went and spent 4 years getting a degree in neuroscience and then spent a further year in getting a master's in psychology. Now what he's done is pretty fucking cool. He's after setting up his own YouTube channel. It's called Pat Psychology Masters and there's a link in the description. Now what he's done here is he's uploaded all the best bits that he's learned over the last 5 years and put them into short, plain English, easy to understand YouTube videos for the likes of myself. His YouTube channel has been a massive resource for me in understanding both my mind and the mind of others. So hit up Pat Psychology Masters YouTube channel, subscribe, give it a like and a comment and a share, all that kind of stuff helps, and I'll chat to you soon.